per annum. Visit any net bank or call 0860 555 111. We are an authorized financial services and registered credit provider. Terms and conditions apply. Make things happen. Nedbank.
Your business is about to lift off. But if you want to rocket your business to new levels, you need the power of instant virtual server capacity, combined with secure database services, all designed to get and keep you ahead. You need a cloud solution that's out of this world.
This week, MTN Business Cloud is in the spotlight on 702. Stay with us to find out how you can benefit from this cloud solution. MTN Business Cloud, built to build African businesses.
Azania Musaka on 702. Call Azania on 011 883 0702.
You're listening to 702 at 15 minutes before 2. And at this moment, in the Johannesburg Magistrates Court, the man accused of throwing drain acid has told the Johannesburg Magistrates Court that he didn't mean to do it. The state has, however, told the court that there was nothing accidental about the tragedy. The man in question, of course, is Jan Pieterse. He's accused of attempted murder after Ines Antonio sustained severe burns in the accident last November. This is a woman whose voice you've heard on 702 talking about the effects of what this acid attack has done in her life, that she's unemployed, she was in need of accommodation, and of course is in need of reconstructive surgery. So luckily, she has had assistance in this area after coming on air speaking to John Robbie. But right now we take a closer look at acid attacks. It is a heinous crime, a heinous act that seems to be happening all over the world, and the victims of acid violence are overwhelmingly women and children. And attackers often target the head, and the point is to maim, to disfigure, and to blind their victims. The victims are really killed by the acid attacks, but they suffer severe physical, psychological, and social scarring that they have to live with for the rest of their lives. So we'll be checking in a short while with Mia Lindeke to find out how the case is going at the Johannesburg Magistrates Court. But we'll also chat to National Burn Association of South Africa, and we've got the director with us, that's Colin Lee. Good afternoon, Colin. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Good afternoon, Azania, and good afternoon to the listeners. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
I was moved by a spread in one of the local papers recently, and it had the spread of women who've been assisted by the Acid Survivors Trust International, and these were women coming from places like Pakistan, Nepal, Uganda, India, Cambodia, UK as well. So it is a global problem, or something that has happened to women and in communities all over the world.
Definitely it seems to be, it's obviously an extension of domestic violence. And as such, it's one of these methodologies that men use to attack women in terms of, really, I think in terms of trying to scar them psychologically as well as physically.
In this particular case with Jan Pieterse,
yes,
the young woman in question has testified. Ines has testified to say that previously he had threatened to do this, saying things like, if I don't have you, then nobody else will. So you've placed it within domestic violence, but we're so accustomed to hearing issues or stories of femicide or men physically abusing their partner. How prevalent is this then as a form of domestic violence?
Sonia, unfortunately, those types of figures we don't have. I think one of the issues when dealing with burns in South Africa is that the statistics are so difficult to get hold of. And particularly, I think, with the stigma attached to domestic violence and the legalities around it, it's very difficult to get concrete statistics around domestic violence, and specifically domestic violence and burns. And of course, an acid attack is a burn. It's a severe form of burning. It's a chemical burn. But I think the methodology isn't as important as how we deal with the issues. And I think that's what the National Burn Association does. It's there to try and assist burn survivors through this hugely traumatic time that they have.
Absolutely, and let's look at that because it affects the victim psychologically. Their lives are forever altered. They'll be walking through life with the scar of what has happened to them.
Of course, and they need to deal with how people see them. And I think that's where the psychological impact comes in and why these people perpetrate these types of crimes, because they realize that the impact is lifelong. Burns are incredibly difficult to treat medically. There's follow-up procedures lifelong. The skin stops growing. There's contracture releases that need to be done, skin grafts. There's a lot of plastic surgery to try and, enable these people to deal with their issues. But it really is a lifelong injury. And I wish these perpetrators would understand what really impact they're having on these people's lives. I'm sure any decent human being, if they really understood the impact of these types of injuries, might have second thoughts. I sincerely hope that people, would try and think about this and understand the damage that they and possibly, try not to.
Let's look at the profile of the perpetrators of this crime. Apart from domestic violence, what else do we know about them?
Unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to comment on that. I deal mainly with the burn survivor side in terms of assisting them. So, but I'm sure any psychologist or psychiatrist would tell you that these people obviously have huge issues that they need to deal with and they need to lash out. But I would hate to start making excuses for people like this. I think that really, I'm sure we all as lay people understand that they need probably as much help, if not more, than their victims, or in our case, survivors, because, so I unfortunately can't comment on the perpetrator side, but we definitely do try and assist the victims.
That's where I want to actually bring Ida in as well. Colin, we've got a support group founder for acid burn victims, Ida Mwaniki. Good afternoon, Ida.
Good afternoon.
Thank you very much for joining us. So you have formed the support group in South Africa, particularly for women who suffered at the hands of their partners in this way.
We formed the support group for Ines in particular because she is the person we knew that this has happened to, and from there we are now working in partnership with Hero Burn Foundation, which is led by Anne-Marie Duploy, who is also a burn survivor. We're also working closely with the Maryvale Catholic Church, where Ines used to attend Mass. So it is an informal group that we started particularly to help Ines because we knew of her family situation and the fact that she was living here alone with her child.
Yes. She was very clear from the onset that she wanted to see Jan Pieterse stand trial to account for what he has done. It's been a very tough period for her since this incident. How is she faring so far, especially having to raise her child and try to lead a normal life?
Yes, it's been very difficult for her, and as mentioned before, the psychological impact is huge. We've been very fortunate to get support from Smile Foundation, who have assisted with assigning a psychologist to her. Hero Burn Foundation also does informal psychological help, where they partner a burn survivor with another one who has gone through the process. And on top of it all, the spiritual support from the Maryvale Church, and then from the rest of us ladies who are part of the group, even just sending a message of comfort or encouragement once in a while, she gets that. We also get a lot of help from the shelter where she is staying. They look after all her basic needs, and her daughter is being looked after by one of the ladies in the support, the teacher in her school, and she has even gotten free education for the child during this time.
Yeah. We've got Mia Lindeke in our Sandton studios. Mia, you attended court earlier on, the Johannesburg Magistrates Court, where Jan Pieterse was continuing with his testimony. And last week he had said that he didn't mean to reach for drain acid. He was trying to reach for something else, probably his cell phone, to throw at her because they were in the middle of a heated argument. Did he continue to hold this defense today?
That's correct, Azania. Yes, and today the court heard that Jan Pieterse says that it was only a horrific accident and that he never intended to throw acid at his former girlfriend, that he never wanted to harm her in the first place. The court also heard this morning that now, almost a year later, he says that he wished that he reached for his cell phone, which was in one of his hands, instead of grabbing this tin, not he reached for, because then everything would have been so much different. But that is his defense, Zania. He says that Ines Antonio slapped him in the face twice and he had to push her away, and that she didn't listen, and that's why he grabbed for this tin, and what he calls, he wanted to throw something at her, and he says to calm her down. And that sparked everything. But the question is really, the state was cross-examining Jan Pieterse today, and that question was put to him and asked him, but why didn't you stay behind and check on Antonio? Wasn't she screaming? You know, why did you just leave her there while she was crying, and even with your own daughter? And he couldn't answer that. So he remembers some of the details as to what exactly happened. He reached for a gift for his daughter, but specific details regarding he didn't stay there and check on Antonio and asked her maybe if she needs a lift to go to hospital. He says it's too long. He can't remember. It's almost a year ago. But the case is now closed.
Well, there were other things that were raised as part of her testimony that he had mentioned before in a previous conversation, that if she left him, no one else would have her and he would throw acid at her. So was this looked at all, previous comments, previous assertions by him that he would somehow punish her if she left him?
That's correct. The state also spent about an hour on that, just going through all his SMSs. But he claims that that message, specific message, and other messages were actually sent to this specific number, her number, but it was meant for her new boyfriend. So that is his defense. He's saying it was never intended to go directly to her. And he says that he thought it was some sort of a sick joke, pictures of her in bandages in hospital, and that's why he responded in that way, saying that she deserves it. And now, today, he says that he never intended to send it to her. It was all meant for her new boyfriend.
So what happens now, Mia?
So the state closed their case on Friday, and now the defense also closed their case. So on Wednesday, proceedings will continue when there will be closing arguments, and they will then postpone the trial, and there will be a date for judgment.
Well, thank you very much for that. Thanks for joining us and giving us that update, which we'll hear more about in Eyewitness News at 2 o'clock. That's EWN reporter Mia Lindeke just giving us an update of what happened at the Johannesburg Magistrates Court regarding this case against Jan Pieterse after he threw acid at his then girlfriend, Ines Antonio.
John Robbie, weekday morning, 6 to 9.
We've got Brazilians wanting to fill. We've got English players feigning injury to miss internationals. And in South Africa, we've got fans who support their clubs more than Bafana Bafana. I mean, you can't shorten the season, can you, for monetary reasons? But maybe, I don't know, we need to rebrand our football with the national side first and foremost. It'll only work if we begin winning again. So why are we so bad?
John Robbie on 702, your number one news and talk station.
Arnold Chats Cars is at it again. Yes, now a great special on Pre-Love 2013 Fiat 500 Pops. Incredibly, from a fantastical price of $99,900, get your Fiat 500 from Arnold Chats Cars. Visit Hyde Park or Constantia Kloof, or visit our website at www.arnoldchats.com now. And only at Arnold Chats Cars on 011 252 2000 or 011 674 6600.
The beauty of a horn is its melodic, soothing sound blown by the lips of a maestro.